Jim Jones and Chrissy Lamon have been one of the most talked about couples in hip-hop for almost 20 years, with their stormy yet passionate relationship that was broadcast on reality TV for the world to witness. From love and hip-hop to private. Social media moments fans have followed every high and every low. Now, after nearly 2 decades of love, loyalty, and public battles, Jim Jones has done the unthinkable and filed for divorce from Chrissy Lamon. What happened to the couple we watched fight for each other on reality TV? We're going to break down the timeline of their relationship, the signs that everyone missed, Chrissy's emotional response, and what sources close to the couple are saying about this unexpected split. Stay tuned because by the end of this video, you'll know the truth behind the headlines. But now everything has taken a shocking turn. In this video, we're delving deeply into what really led to Jim Jones filing for divorce. Was it years of emotional distance, Chrissy's sacrifices finally catching up with her? Or was there something much darker going on behind closed doors? Chrissy Lamon's love story wasn't born in the spotlight. Rather, it was thrust into it. Their relationship started long before reality TV fame, when Jim was riding high as a founding member of Dipset, and Chrissy was navigating the industry on her own. From the start, Chrissy made it clear that she wasn't going to be just another rapper's girlfriend. She was the one who kept Jim on track despite his chaotic lifestyle. Despite the ups and downs of the music industry, including infidelity rumors, street drama, and family pressure, Chrissy remained steadfast. She wasn't flawless, but she was always there, and fans noticed by the time Love and Hip Hop New York aired. In one of the most talked about moments in reality TV history, Chrissy famously proposed to Jim in 2011. While the world's reactions to the moment were mixed, it demonstrated how much she was willing to fight for their love. However, this is where the cracks begin to show. Jim didn't say yes, instead saying, "I'm with you." This ambiguous and emotionally distant response left Chrissy in limbo, and that hesitation became a theme in their relationship. He loved her, but commitment was a different story. Behind the scenes, Chrissy had turned down business ventures, career opportunities, and even ambitions to start a family for a man who couldn't seem to make her his wife, and as time went on, the spotlight started to feel like a pressure cooker. In interviews, Chrissy frequently talked about feeling ignored. She wanted a wedding, kids, and a future together, but the longer she waited, the more it seemed like Jim was with things as they were, and yet she stayed. What's interesting is that friends say she saw the warning signs early on, including Jim's evasiveness, chaotic schedule, and lack of emotional expression, but love will make you ignore them. A lot of things until it doesn't. Although the cameras frequently showed the chemistry between Jim and Chrissy, they rarely showed the depth of their ongoing struggles. Their reality was far from glamorous, and the truth is that Chrissy wasn't just a woman in love, she was a woman who quietly carried the emotional weight of their relationship for years. Let's talk about the real issues behind closed doors. According to sources close to the couple, the emotional distance between them began to grow long before divorce was even considered. Jim was frequently absent, not only physically, but also emotionally unavailable. He was the type of man who loved deeply, but found it difficult to be vulnerable and open with others. Chrissy, on the other hand, was the glue, the nurturer, and the fixer. And like many women in long-term relationships, she played that role for far longer than she should have. She didn't want to give up on what they had built, but over time, that emotional labor began to wear her down. According to an insider, Chrissy was constantly trying to get him to talk, to express himself, to just sit down and be present with her. But Jim was preoccupied with his job, his friends, and occasionally, ego. Let's not forget the business side of things either. The couple attempted multiple times to build empires together, including real estate investments, branding deals, and reality shows. But each time Chrissy seemed to be Jim's mother, Nancy Jones, also known as Mama Jones, was a major factor in their relationship drama. She accused Chrissy of being controlling, manipulative, and selfish, and she felt completely disrespected and unsupported. The truth is that Jim never set strong boundaries between his mother and his woman, allowing the conflict to simmer for years without any resolution. Stepping in to protect Chrissy emotionally, which caused a silent wound in their relationship that never fully healed. Behind the scenes, Chrissy. According to friends, she started spending more time in Miami exploring life on her own, without Jim constantly in the background. Fans noticed on social media that she stopped posting about him and attending events with him. Slowly but surely, it seemed like they were living separate lives, even though they were still together. The shocking thing is that, despite their previous quiet breakups, Chrissy always found a way to reconcile. This is where it gets messy. For years, Jim Jones and Chrissy Lamine were known for keeping their relationship real but private when it came to the most painful parts. As a rapper with street credibility and a flashy lifestyle, rumors have always followed Jim, and temptations were everywhere, but Chrissy always defended him. This time, however, Jim was the one who filed, not Chrissy, the woman who had waited and sacrificed, but the man who had never made her his wife. Over the past year, however, something changed. Bloggers began posting cryptic posts, and one even shared blurry images of Jim allegedly out at a private party with a woman who wasn't Chrissy. The woman was a young, aspiring model from Atlanta, who was known for getting close to high-profile men. Jim never confirmed this, but the silence spoke volumes. People in Chrissy's circle say she was devastated, not because she didn't suspect it, but because she secretly hoped it wasn't true. I thought that after everything they'd been through, he wouldn't treat her that way. Not now. Not after all these years of keeping him down through family drama and celebrity fights. But the betrayal didn't stop there. According to an insider, who's known the couple for more than 10 years, Chrissy found out through someone else, not Jim. She confronted him expecting an apology or even honesty, but instead he became defensive, flipped the script, and accused her of changing and not being the Chrissy he fell in love with. Imagine dedicating your entire adult life to a man, only for him to use it as an excuse to leave you. This wasn't just a moment of it was confirmation for Chrissy that she had become invisible in the relationship, that her loyalty was expected and not valued, and that the man she loved didn't value her enough to protect her heart or her dignity. But here's the crazy part. There were quiet conversations among mutual friends and people in the industry, including stylists and assistants, suggesting that this wasn't the first time. Some people think Jim had been emotionally distant because he had already checked out of the relationship, while others believe he was leading a double life in an attempt to keep Chrissy in the picture while starting something else. It's still unclear whether When Jim Jones filed for divorce, many expected Chrissy Lamine to respond with a media storm, an interview, a post, or maybe even a tearful video. However, she did something far more powerful. She went completely silent. No clapbacks, no dramatic Instagram lives, no cryptic tweets, just quiet. Sometimes that silence is louder than words. Whether she really fell for someone new or it was just another case of bad judgment, what is clear is that Chrissy was blindsided when the divorce papers were filed. She didn't initiate it, and she didn't expect it, by the move, but she wasn't shocked because the warning signs had been there. What shocked her the most, though, was that the man she had supported through decades of highs and lows had decided to leave her just as she had finally begun to focus on herself. To make this part of the story unique, Chrissy didn't spiral or publicly break down. Instead, she did something she had never done in her adult life. She chose herself. Let's break that down. Chrissy met Jim in her 30s. She was a grown woman who was already fierce and had already flown, but she dedicated her time, energy, and dreams to support him. She became the ride or die, the backbone, and the partner in life and business. Now, Chrissy is in her 50s, is learning to be her own center, and guess what? She's doing great. In the months after the divorce was announced, fans noticed subtle but significant changes. Chrissy started sharing more fashion photos of herself in new cities with new styles and a noticeable lack of pain. Her captions were calm, reflective, and occasionally flirtatious, but they weren't bitter or unbothered. One friend said, "Chrissy isn't looking to hurt Jim or expose him. She's done playing the game. She's not looking backward. She's finally moving forward." And here's the empowering twist. Chrissy has been quietly working on a lifestyle and home design brand. Chrissy has always been passionate about her story and has been approached by a number of women-centered podcasts and platforms, hoping she would come talk about it. However, she has remained silent because she wants to protect her peace. This isn't about getting even or retaliating. Rather, it's about rediscovering the woman who was lost in the shadows of Jim Jones's spotlight, and based on what we're seeing, she is stepping out on her own terms. However, there is a rumor that Chrissy may be working on a memoir or book that would give her a voice without any edits or filters. If that's the case, Jim should prepare himself, because no one knows the whole story better than Chrissy. Let me tell you, after almost 20 years of dating, public highs, and humiliating lows, it seemed like the story of Jim Jones and Chrissy Lannon had reached its conclusion. However, the truth is that the book doesn't end with the closing of a chapter, and for Chrissy and Jim, this story may still be far from over. First, let's talk about Jim. He has been more subdued than usual, making no big statements or doing interviews, but his social media followers have noticed something odd. Suddenly, it's filled with nostalgic throwbacks of Pet's early days, including old clips of Chrissy and even lyrics that hint at regret. Some fans think that Jim didn't really expect Chrissy to leave so easily because, as they say, he filed the paperwork. But the way she's been moving, that's a woman who's already gone. Behind-the-scenes insiders say Jim's circle is divided. Some are trying to get him to move on, while others are cautioning him not to lose the one woman who has supported him through everything. No matter how tough Jim tries to appear, everyone knows that he's never been the same without her. Let's flip it, though. Chrissy is glowing up in real time. Consider for a moment that major networks have approached her with deals for scripted content based on her real life, not just reality TV. A woman who was once a supporting character in someone else's show is now being given the opportunity to tell a story. That's not just retaliation, it's reclamation. However, the twist that's making people go crazy is what happens next. According to sources, Chrissy has reconnected with a former flame, someone she dated before Jim, a businessman named Loki, who is not in the entertainment industry and who always respected her independence. Rumor has it that they were seen dining together in Miami. The most bizarre part is that there is still a lingering question. Will Jim stand up for her? Some fans are still holding out hope that Jim will have a come-to-his-senses moment, that he'll step up, apologize, and finally give Chrissy the commitment she's deserved for years. From the photos, she didn't look like someone dealing with heartbreak. Instead, she looked like a woman enjoying freedom. Now, no one is saying Chrissy is rushing into anything serious. She's not rushing. This wasn't just a breakup. It was the unraveling of a legendary love story that spanned 2 decades, 2 careers, 2 households, and 2 very different visions of what commitment looks like. Jim Jones and Chrissy Lannon weren't just a couple on television. They were the model for a certain kind of ride-or-die relationship. Chrissy Lannon is no longer waiting to be chosen. Going back would only hold her back. Only time will tell, but one thing is clear. She is choosing herself. Chrissy's journey is both painful and powerful. She went from being a girl pleading with her man to marry her on national television to a woman who now moves in silence, protects her peace, and no longer begs anyone to see her worth. That is growth, that is strength, and that is a message to everyone watching this video who has ever felt overlooked or taken for granted. Jim is at a crossroads. He can either become the man Chrissy always thought he could be, or he can experience the greatest thing ever. It may never be known what exactly caused him to file those documents, but one thing is certain. Chrissy's divorce awakened something in her that we might not have noticed if she had remained in that relationship. And let's not forget that the story isn't over. Whether it ends in reconciliation, reinvention, or a brand new love story, it is obvious that Chrissy is finally writing her own story, not as someone's fiancé or plus one, but as her own woman. The question now is whether Jim will regret what he lost, or if Chrissy will grow into the best version of herself as a result of what she left behind. We would like to know your thoughts on this. If you respect Chrissy's glow-up, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a deep dive like this one. And hey, if you thought it was crazy, wait until you see what we've got coming next. The truth always finds its way to the surface, and some of your favorite celebrity couples might be hiding way more than you think. Until the next time, stay woke, stay curious, and stay empowered.